the vast majority of what I was doing was more special kill team stuff, and a lot of that when you're young, you're baiting people, you're honeypotting them. So you're like a seductor, and then you're doing something to them, or you're recording it. When you castrate, this is the castrati, this is a Jesuit practice, been Catholic practice forever, still goes on today. They castrate young boys so that they'll have a high soprano voice and they'll look like prepubescent boys for much longer, and it makes them better for their desires. And that practice still goes on today. So I had a very stunted development. So I looked very childish, very boyish for a long time in my life. And so that's favorable for missions like that when you need someone who blends in that field of view. People don't understand. You use children as mules a lot in this underworld, like children traffic drugs and all kinds of illicit materials all the time because most people are unsuspecting of them. Well, the same thing with assassins, because it's a lot less likely that anyone's guard ever goes up and your target never becomes a hardened target because it's a little child, as opposed to it being a big, scary bodyguard looking guy who's coming to hunt you down. That guy.
Yeah.
But in Colorado, it was substantive. There was a lot of it, but there was a lot more out here in the East Coast. The military is expedites their work. They'll stack them up for you. You just go from one to another, to another, to another, to another, till you lose your mind.
A lot more out in the East Coast. Is that because DC's out here?
I just think there's a lot older establishments. I don't know about DC. That's one thing. That's a place. Like the military is so much more than any. People think that DC is the capital. They have no idea what Norfolk, Virginia is. Norfolk, Virginia runs the world. That's our United States naval superpower. That's their headquarter base. That is a place where all our top secret nuclear weapons, like we talked about, whatever version of nuclear weapons you want to talk about now, but I could go there too. Thank you for all those guys that threw that out there about nukes. But that's where our weapon systems that are based on submarines are housed. So it's some of the most guarded and secretive places in the entire country is right through there. So that center of the country is one of the most heavily defended, but also heavily surveilled by spies of anywhere else in the country. And that's where I kind of niched myself into, was this form of tradecraft, where you can collect and gather intelligence and make strategic eliminations. That once you get into that vein, you're not just as a pleasure boy anymore. And you start to be a man into that field. And there's just a lot more work out there. There's a lot more spooky stuff happening by spies out there.